Hi students, welcome back to class. This day I am going to teach you another poem by Kamala Das. The poem is an introduction. So without wasting our time, let's move to lesson. So let's get started. I am going to introduce Kamala Das. Kamala Das was born in 1934. Her period was from 1934 to 2009. Uh, she had other names also. She was called Madhavi Kutti, and that was a Malayalam pen name. Later, she embraced Islam. So then she was called Kamala Suraya. She was born in Thrissur in Kerala, and her mother was a famous poet. She was Nalappad Balamani Amma. Father was again he was a journalist and an executive. He was V.M. Nair. So she was born in an aristocratic family. So as a child, she grew up in Kerala. She was under the care of grandmother for a long time. She used to write about her memories of grandmother in many of her poems. Later, she shifted to Kolkata when her father was working there. There, she attended a school for some time, and as a child, she started writing poetry. So she had a taste for poetry even in her childhood. I've already told you her mother was a poet, so she had the taste for that. Uh, but at a very young age, that is at the age of 15, she married Madhavadas. This Madhavadas was a cousin of Kamala Das. And some of her literary works are Summer in Calcutta, that was published in 1965, and then the next work was The Descendants, published in 1967. So these two works are collections of poems, The Old House and Other Poems. So this is also another collection of poems. It was published in 1973. She wrote a novel, Alphabet of Lust. It was published in 1976. And she wrote a few short stories also. A Doll for the Child Prostitute, published in 1977. Padmavati the Harlot, 1992. Very famous work was her autobiography, My Story. In Malayalam, it was Ente Kada, and it was translated into English, which got the title My Story, published in 1976. She wrote many poems and stories in Malayalam also. That's why she got the pen name Madhavi Kutti. She was formerly called Madhavi Kutti by Malayalis. Some of the key features of her literary style are she frankly expressed her thoughts. So that was a period when women did not open their hearts. They did not reveal what was in their hearts. They did not. They were actually confined in the four walls of their houses, and they never dared to express even their intimate thoughts. So here she had the boldness to express her thoughts, and she was a writer who used confessional mode of writing. In the last class itself, I told you about confessional mode of writing. So she was a pioneer who used confessional mode of writing. She voiced women's anguish, frustration, pain, desires, emotions, and so on. So she was a writer who expressed many of the issues of women, which women did not express at all. So in most of her works, most of her poems, we can find feminist perspectives. She wrote boldly about female body. Most of the women writers would not dare to write about the bodily functions. She wrote about even puberty, uh, uh, menstruation, lactation. So all the bodily, most of the bodily functions of women also she wrote. She won Penn's Asian Prize in 1963, Kerala Sahitya Academy Award in 1969 for the short story Tanuppu. This is again a short story in Malayalam. She won National Sahitya Academy Award. That was in 1985, or Kendriya Sahitya Academy Award. That was in 1985. and she was even shortlisted for the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1984. Let's try to understand what confessional poetry is. As Kamala Das used a confessional mode of writing, you have to know what is confessional poetry. This confessional poetry, it emerged in the late 1950s and early 60s. It was a style of writing used by many writers. It was majorly associated with poets such as Robert Lowell, Sylvia Plath, Anne Sexton, W.D. Snodgrass. They actually wrote about very intimate and personal experiences, many things which people would not reveal. So even most of the personal things they wrote about, sexual experiences, the experiences with the drug, the depression, the traumas they had. So many of these things they wrote unhesitatingly, but they were not actually confessing all these things. It's not like the confession we find in the Roman Catholic Church. It's again openly revealing the thoughts and feelings. It was like an outlet for the pent up feelings in the mind. So this is how they started using this kind of a style of writing. And so most of the writings were in autobiographical manner. Uh, Let me introduce you to the poem. So I'll just try to tell you some things about confessional mode of writing in India. In the last class itself, I told you about Eunice D'Souza writing the confessional mode of using the confessional mode of writing. Kamala Das, she also extensively used this style of writing. And, in Hindi poetry, we can find Mamta Kalia, who used this confessional style mode of writing. Lizzie Ezekiel also, to some extent, used that. So, in most of the confessional poems, we can find I as a speaker. So, this I can be autobiographical, that I can mean the speaker himself or herself. So, let's come to the poem. I would like to introduce the poem to you. This poem was published. That poem is again an introduction. You have to remember the title. The poem itself is an introduction. It was published in Summer in Calcutta in 1965. After her marriage with Madhav Das, she had to go to Calcutta and she started living in Calcutta with her husband. So she had an exposure to the city life there. She used to watch the streets and the people around there. So many of the experiences she had, many of the observations and experiences she had contributed to many of the poems. So this was again a part of the experiences she had in her life. So somewhere in Calcutta we can find many such poems. So many poems addressed the desire for love, frustration, pain. So that is what we find in this particular collection of poems. It's so this poem has a, different structure. We don't find actually the poem divided into different stanzas. We just find only one stanza only. Um, find only one stanza. We don't find any particular rhyme scheme. It was written in free verse. The poetess introduces herself. That is how what we see in the poem. So she discloses herself to the readers. So now let's go move to the poem. So this is the poem. So let's start reading. Let's try to understand the poem fully. So this is how it starts. I don't know politics, but I know the names of those in power and can repeat them like days of week or names of months beginning with Nebu. So here she speaks about women's interest in politics. Women generally are not interested in politics. They have other things to think about. They are usually involved in the domestic chores. They are involved in again the relationships they have, the network, the family. So here she says that she doesn't know politics much, but she knows the names of the prime ministers. So it's just like how a child names the days of week. how if a child is actually asked to tell the days of week or the names of month, the child will be telling. So in the same way, she also can name the more important politicians, the prime ministers, beginning with Nehru. So that much exposure she has to politics and that much interest she has to politics. So this is how she starts the poem. Maybe beginning itself, she starts speaking about the political interest she has. That means she's not much interested. That is what she says. And about her uh, external appearance. So that is what she is going to speak in the following lines. I am Indian. So here she introduces her nationality. So she speaks that she is an Indian only. So the nationality of the speaker is introduced. And about she speaks about her complexion also. She is very brown and born in Malabar. So about her native place, she says she was born in a Malabar area in Kerala. So she speaks about native place, about her complexion, about her nationality, and about her linguistic identity. She is telling in the next two lines. I speak three languages, write in two, dream in one. So here she says that she speaks three languages, write into, dream in one. So here write into this she writes in Malayalam and in English. She dreams in one language. That is again the language of her dream. So we need not actually speak about that particular language. And since she lives in Kolkata, she may know a smattering of Bengali or she knows Hindi. So it's not clear which is the third language she knows. Definitely, she knows Malayalam and English. So she dreams in one. Usually we say that a writer or anybody dreams in Malayalam. I mean, in the origin, the mother tongue. So it may mean that also the language in which she expresses her the innermost thoughts and feelings. That may be the mother tongue. So that is what she speaks about her linguistic identity. Don't write in English, they said. English is not your mother tongue. So she starts writing in English. We have to remember that regional writing was also flourishing in the period that is 1960s and 70s and all. So that was a time when many writers started writing in English also. So since she was educated in English language, she could write fluently. She could write in a very proficient way in English language. So when she started writing, there were other people who did not approve of her writing in English. That's why other people started. Other people in the sense, these people could be her friends, her relatives, her well-wishers, or the people in the neighborhood. So they started telling her, don't write in English. They said, English is not your mother tongue. Why not? So their point was that since English was not her mother tongue, she did not write in English. But as she is proficient in English language and as she is able to articulate it well and she thinks that it is suitable for her to write in English, she starts writing in English also. That doesn't mean that she has neglected her mother tongue. I have already told you that she wrote in Malayalam also. Why not leave me alone? Critics, friends, visiting cousins, every one of you. So here he gives a list of the people who have told her not to write in English. So here she says they are critics, friends, visiting cousins, every one of you. So let her, she wants to write in the language she chooses. She doesn't want to listen to others' words and to start writing. So that's why she asks others, why can't these people leave her alone and let her write in the language she wants? Why not let me speak in any language I like? The language I speak becomes mine. Its distortions, its queerness, all mine, mine alone. So she wants to write in any language she wants. So she says that that language, the language she uses is again her language only. It may not be the standard variety of English language. It may have its own distortions. It may have its own strange characters. But though it may have strange features, it's her language. That's what she says. It's mine, mine alone. Because we know that we don't use language in the same way. Uh, what A uses may not be used by B. So any person uh, will have a different way of using language. Though all of us are using uh, different words in the language, we all use in different ways, in different grammatical structures we'll be following, different constructions we'll be following. So we may actually distort, we may try to change the style, and also that's why she says that whatever language she uses is her language, and she likes to express in the way she wants, the language she wants. So that is her language. That is what she says. That language may be half English, that's what she says. It is half English, half Indian, funny perhaps, but it is honest. It is as human as I am human. Don't you see? So the language she writes, it may not be the standard English, it may be half English, it may look like a half Indian also, but it doesn't matter. It may be funny, but the thing is that it's an honest language because she is articulating her heart. So her heart is revealed in the language. Whatever she has to reveal, deep from the bottom of her heart, she reveals in the language she uses, and that language is human. Okay, it's as human as she herself is a human being. So it has all the features of all the characteristics of a human language. So that is what she says. So she wants to, here itself, the first, this section itself actually, she expresses the love for her freedom. She wants to be, she wants others to leave her alone, others to allow her to take her own decision, even about writing, even about choosing language. So this is what she voices out here. The language she chooses voices her joys. It voices my joys, my longings, my hopes, and it is useful to me as cawing is to crows or roaring to the lions. So the language she chooses, even if it is English or Malayalam or the language of her dream, whatever be it, so that language definitely articulates her joys, her longings, her desires, her hopes, and it is very useful to her, and it is natural to her, as natural as cawing is to crows. We don't have to teach any crow to caw. We don't have to teach any lions to roar. So that is natural to lions. Roaring is natural to lions. Cawing is natural to crows. So it is useful to them. It is natural also. So in the same way, she uses the language which comes to her naturally. It is human speech, the speech of the mind that is here and not there, a mind that sees and hears and is aware. So the language she uses again, it's definitely human speech. This language definitely articulates the mind of her mind. And that mind, if somebody asks you, where is your mind? You may not be able to point it out. So here and there, our thoughts will wander. Anybody's thoughts will keep on wandering. So in the same way, she uses this language to express her mind. Okay, that gets the impression from what she sees and what she hears and what she gets to know. So this is what is articulated through the language. Not the deaf, blind speech of trees in storm, or of monsoon clouds, or of rain, or the incoherent mutterings of the blazing funeral pyre. So this language is not actually the language of the deaf or the blind speech. So here in storm we can see, even when there is a breeze also, when there is wind, we can hear the trees, making some kind of muttering. There will be a murmur of the trees. And there is when it's going to rain, we know that clouds will be there. So when it is cloudy, we understand that it's rain. That is again a language expressed by the environment. So it's not like that language, but this language is again very clear, it is very articulate. It can be articulated fully. It is not the incoherent mutterings of the blazing funeral pyre. Incoherent is not something that you cannot completely understand. It's not like the sound you hear at the time of the funeral pyre, but this is something that is very understandable by others. It's a human speech only. That is what she is using. So this is one section, though she has not actually divided into different sections. At least if we take it as a semantic unit, okay, we can see that she speaks about language, she speaks about her identity, linguistic identity she speaks more, and she speaks about her national identity, about her appearance. So now she is actually moving to the next section. I was child, and later they told me I grew, for I became tall, my limbs swelled, and one or two places sprouted hair. So going back to her past and telling about the growth. So she was child, and she was an innocent child. She was happy with her grandmother. She used to live with her grandmother, and some poems are written about grandmother and the ancestral house also. Grandmother's tales we can find them. Later, happily she was growing there with her grandmother, and she started growing. So others told her that okay, she was a big girl. Okay, so they told her that she grew, and she understood that she was also growing because she became tall. She was growing taller, and her body. There were actually some signs of growth on her body. My limbs swelled and one or two places sprouted hair. So this is again speaking boldly about her body, showing that she grew. Okay? She was growing into a woman. When I asked for love, not knowing what else to ask for, he drew a youth of 16 into the bedroom and closed the door. Here we can relate it to her autobiographical experience as she was growing, and when she reached the age of 15, she got married, and Madhavadas was her husband was much older than her, at least more than 12 or 15 years. Okay, so that much age difference is there between Kamala Das and her husband. So as an adolescent, she also started yearning for love. We can find such emotional needs in during the growing stage. If we observe the teenagers around us, we can see that okay, they are very much fascinated with love. They have all strange notions about love. So here, as a teenager, she also started. She started to have that kind of a feel for love. She started yearning for love. So it was at that time she thought that she had to love somebody. She had to fall in love. She wanted to experience love. But even before she actually knew what love was, she got married. So that's why it is mentioned here. When I asked for love, not knowing what else to ask. So she did not know what else she had to ask also, because at that time she got married. So for he drew a youth of 16 into the bedroom and closed the door. So here, just close to 15 years old. Okay, just coming to 16 years. So at that time, she got married to her husband. And here, this particular section speaks about the intimate relationship between husband and wife, even the first night experience. Okay, that is what the poetess is speaking here. He drew a youth of 16 into the bedroom and closed the door. So he did not beat me, but my sad woman body felt so beaten because she happened to have physical relationship with her husband when she was not ready for that. When she did not even know what actually it was. Okay, she started having a kind of yearning for love. That's all. Other than that, she did not know anything about marriage and sexual relationship and all. So it was at that time actually she got married, And so when she was not ready for any kind of relationship, okay, it happened. So that's why it is mentioned here. Her woman body felt so beaten. He did not beat her or anything, but she felt so beaten because her mind was not willing. The weight of my breast and wound crushed me. I shrank pitifully. So there was a kind of resentment, okay, in her body. So that's why here she uses the image here. I mean, how her body also started responding in a negative way to the relationship, physical relationship here. I shrank pitifully. That's what she says. After this, after marriage, after the relationship between husband and wife, she feels that she shrinks. And what happens after that? Then I wore a shirt and my brother's trousers, cut my hair short, and ignored my womanliness. So she thinks that it is better to ignore her womanhood as such. So she doesn't want others to call her a woman. So she just starts wearing, sorry, she starts wearing her brother's trousers, and she cuts her hair because long hair is a sign of woman's beauty. Most of the women will have long hair, so she doesn't want to show the beauty of woman. She doesn't want to show her womanhood. That's why she tries to negate the womanhood. She starts rebelling against the identity of a woman. So here she starts wearing shirt and brother's trousers. She cuts her hair short, and in this way she rebels against woman. Dress in saris, be girl, be wife, they said. So when she starts appearing in this kind of costume, the people around her start telling her, you are a woman, so you have to wear saris. So they start saying that she's a married woman also, she has to dress in saris, and she has to be a girl or be wife. So there are certain roles fixed by society. Some gender roles are there. So these lines indicate the gender roles imposed on women by society. So here, be embroiderer. So what are the things she's supposed to do? Be embroiderer, be cook, be a coroner with servants, fitting. So when she tries to rebel the biological identity, it's more than the biological identity, is again the societal construct. So she tries to rebel that. So people start telling her to fit into the society. So to fit into society, what are the things she has to do? Uh, she has to be embroidered. Usually, we know that women are interested in embroidery work. They'll do embroidery. They'll cook well, and they'll try to show their power, or they'll try to, control their servants. So these are the some of the roles performed by women. So she is asked to perform these roles, but not to negate the identity of a woman. Fit in or belong, cried the categorizers. So these are the people who try to categorize a person's identity or individuality into different sex, different sections. So here she is asked to behave like a proper woman, behave like a wife, okay? And there are many restrictions imposed on a woman by society. So here she is giving the list of restrictions. Don't sit on walls or peep into a lace draped windows. You know that okay, women are not allowed, especially girls. Women usually don't sit on walls. Even during the time of childhood, during the childhood itself, girls are told not to sit on walls, not to peep into the windows, because when somebody comes to their home, girls are not allowed to go into the living room and greet them. They are asked to be indoor. They are asked to be in the other rooms only, inner chambers only, not to go and greet them. So these are some of the restrictions. I mean, some of the roles. Okay, some of the commands given by the society. So she elaborates these commands. And here it is mentioned, be Ami or be Kamala. Ami is a pet name. So, or better still be Madhavikuttu. Don't try to be somebody else. Even if she tries to be somebody else, even if she tries to rebel and if she tries to negate the identity of woman, she is still a woman. She cannot come out of that. So the society tells her, people around her, the society. So the society tells her to be Ami. That means the pen name, so not the pen name, sorry, the pet name, okay, the nickname she has. So let her be Ami or let her be Kamala because she was fondly called Ami by her grandmother, okay, and the relatives. So and her official name is Kamala. Let her be Kamala. Or otherwise, she has already taken the pen name Madhavikutty. Let her be Madhavikutty. Okay. So let her not to be try more than that. Let her not try. Let her not to try to go beyond the roles imposed by the society. It is time to choose a name, a role. Even if she likes or does not like also, she has to choose a name, a role. Don't play pretending games. She cannot say that she does not know this, she cannot fit into the society. No, it's not possible. She cannot pretend all those things. But as she is a wife, as she is a mother, she has to fit into the society and she has to perform the roles. The society again tells her, don't play at schizophrenia or be a nympho. Don't say that you have some kind of a neurotic disorder, you are not able to understand the situation. So don't be showing that kind of a nervousness, and don't behave like a nympho. Nympho is again somebody who has excessive sexual desire. Don't try to behave in that way. Don't cry embarrassingly loud when jilted in love. So even if in love affairs also, even if somebody has again ditched her, okay, so it is not wise from the part of a woman to cry very loudly in an embarrassing way. We know in our society, women are supposed to suppress their tears. Okay, women are supposed to suppress their laughter. Women are not allowed to cry loudly. They are not allowed to laugh loudly because in a public place there are many restrictions. So here she is again indirectly criticizing the restrictions imposed on women. She tells here what the society tells her to do. And now she speaks about her love life. I met a man, loved him, called him not by any name. If we have to think about her personal life, she was not very happy with her married life. She had a lot of frustration. Kamala does. Okay? She had a lot of frustration in her married life, and in many of her poems and in her autobiography, also we can see Kamala does trying to find love out of wedlock. Okay, going out of wedlock and trying to find love. So this section can mean that also. So, but again, she always has an ideal lover in her mind. So that ideal lover is again Krishna. Okay, she was a worshipper of Krishna. So she now starts telling about her search for the ideal love. I met a man, loved him, called him not by any name. He is every man who wants a woman, just as an every woman who seeks love. So she just says that she happens to meet a man. Okay, she does not want to reveal the name. It can be anybody, but this is the kind of man a woman wants. Okay, any kind of man everybody any woman wants, and she is the kind of woman every man wants. So here we can find a kind of reference to the love relationship between Krishna and Radha. Usually, mythological interpretations say that Krishna finds Radha in every woman he meets. So there is a unbreakable bond of love between Krishna and Radha. So it seems that she is searching for the ideal love. That ideal love is again found So she does not want to reveal that. Just as I am every woman who seeks love, in him the hungry haste of rivers, in me the ocean's tireless wait. So she here uses the image of river and ocean. Rivers will go and meet seas, which will again meet oceans. So he has been waiting to meet this ocean, who has been waiting for the river to meet. So it's just like that. Okay, the man, there is a lot of love in man, and this love is again given to the woman who has been yearning for love. Who are you? I ask each and everyone. The answer is, it is I. Anywhere and everywhere, I see the one who calls himself I. In this world, he is tightly packed like the sword in its sheath. So she is actually taking us to another level of thought. So anybody, if she means anybody, she asks this question, who are you? Okay. So anybody who is asked this question will say, okay, it's me. So there is again the feeling of I in everybody. This I can mean the ego that is there in anybody. So when if we have to, if anybody has to love the other person unconditionally, there should be a diminishing of I. If this I is diminished only, this person will be able to love the other person unconditionally. So if when she means anybody at any place, when she asks the anybody, she gets the answer that is I. Okay, this I is like, it's like, tightly packed like a sword in its sheath. So it's like, this sheath is like a body. So in this body there is the I in I. So it's again the self of a person. The self of a person is again tightly packed in the body of a person. So she is actually taking us to the this body mind unison. Okay, and that is what she is mentioning here. It is I who drink lonely drinks at 12 midnight in hotels of strange towns. It is I who laugh. It is I who make love and then feel shame. It is I who lie dying with a rattle in my throat. I'm sinner, I'm saint. So this I, because there is the self which tells the self in her. Okay, there is the self which tells her. Self need not be actually the selfishness of the self, but again the identity of the self. Okay, so this tells her to tells any person to get pleasure by drinking. Okay, so this I may go out. That means there is a kind of self satisfaction. Okay, to get the self satisfaction, a person may go and drink in a bar. Okay, even if it is late night, also you may go. You may go to strange towns. If when a person loves, it is again a part of the satisfaction he gets. It's a part of the self satisfaction he or she gets. So when a person makes love with anybody, it is also for the satisfaction of that person. So everywhere the writer, the poetess sees this I. Okay? So this I, that is the self, okay, which is seeking for satisfaction, which wants happiness. This self may feel shame. Okay, this self also may feel that there is again feel a kind of death also. That's why it is I who lie dying with a rattle in my throat. So sometimes there are moments of depression. So at that time, it's just like the I seems to be dying. So there are moments of lack of confidence. There are moments of frustration, pain. So at that time, this I, the self satisfaction or the self seems to be dying. So this I can be, this person can be sinner, I'm saint. I am the beloved and the betrayed. So here she actually brings two opposing ideas. She is both the beloved and she is the betrayed. So yeah, if somebody has to betray another person, that person usually is the loved one. So here itself we can find a kind of contradiction. So when he says that the same person is sinner and saint. So there are contradictory feelings in her. So she is actually juxtaposing these contradictions in these lines. I have no joys that are not yours, no aches which are not yours. I too call myself I. If a person says that he or she loves other person, that person's joy is again this person's joy. Okay, so the other person's ache is again this person's ache. That's why here she says, have no joys that are not yours, no aches which are not yours. If A feels joy, if A loves B and B loves A, joy will be A's joy. A's joy will also be B's joy. So that kind of a reciprocal love relationship she is actually speaking about. So if that is there, okay, then she can call, I too call myself I. In that way again, if what do you say, there is a completion of that kind of a thing, then she can actually call herself, okay, and there is a self-satisfaction, there is a I. So in this poem actually we can see the poet introducing her identity. First of all, she speaks about her interest in politics, whether she is interested or not, she says. Then she speaks about her national identity, then about her completion, about her native place, and she speaks about the languages she speaks, and there itself she speaks about the words of the society, I mean the people around her, okay, and she wants freedom, and she tells the people around her to allow her to speak the language she wants. And later she starts speaking about her marriage, love, then about her frustration or the pain in the married life, okay, and how it goes contrary to her expectations. And next she speaks about a search for love, and in her search for love she speaks about the ego in any person's heart. So how this ego always goes for self satisfaction, and how when the ego is diminished, how the love gets complete, a kind of completion. So that is what she speaks in the poem. So here she voices the rebels. Her what is it? She speaks about the interrogation of gender stereotypes. Okay, and she speaks about how people have to, how women are again. What can we say, confined to the four walls of the house, and what are the different aches they face in their life. So she speaks about all these things. So let's come to the analysis of the poem. As I've already told you, she uses confessional mode of writing. In this one, in this poem, we see her using the images of body boldly. So this was a time when women did not, it was again in the 60s. Okay? It was a time when women did not use the images of body boldly. They were not allowed to use, and even if anybody used, they would be subjected to severe criticism. So we can find her using the images of body very boldly, and she speaks about female subjectivity, okay, about the female self, okay, and what a woman feels. It's not just the bodily identity, there is again the psychological realm of woman, so that also she speaks here. And she speaks about love and marriage, the frustration she feels in a married life, and her search for love. And in the due course of the poem, she interrogates stereotypes. There are many stereotypical notions about a girl, the upbringing of a girl, about a woman, about the roles of wife. All these things are questioned in the poem. And we can find her searching for a lover. So her search for a lover is again is seen in her love for Krishna. So Krishna is the ideal lover in her, but she happens to meet, but again, even in the human being she comes, she sees across, she finds the I in them, okay, the ego in them, which will not allow them to be completely a part of her herself. And, emotional conflicts, other emotional conflicts are also referred to in the poem. So the references are taken for this study are Modern Indian Poetry in English written by Bruce King, Britannica.com, compulse.org. Then again, one article, The Mother of Modern Indian English Poetry by Cheryl Sebastian, an introduction, and some features from poem analysis also. So this is the assignment question which I am going to give you. Analyze an introduction as a confessional poem. So with that, actually, I am concluding and the lesson. Try to read uh, other poems also of Kamala and keep on studying. Be in good spirit. Meet you in the next class. So bye.